Otherworldly suburbanites, musclebound nannies, and a supposedly missed shot at Oscar Gold. Wondering why you don't see Hulk Hogan in movies anymore? Here's what put his career down for the count. Hogan made his acting debut in Rocky III. He played Thunderlips in the film, a professional wrestler who fights Rocky Balboa in an exhibition match. Fictionally speaking, Rocky was the world heavyweight boxing champion at the time, so pitting him against a giant from another sport was designed as a charity event.
How much do you think he eats?
About 202 pounds.
The fight served to showcase Rocky's future opponent, Clubber Lang, but it also gave Hogan a taste of Hollywood. That said, very little of Hogan's performance was new to him, as he truly played another version of himself. Granted, he fights a boxer and not another wrestling performer, but that's kind of what exhibition matches are for. Rocky tries to reason with the nearly 7-foot-tall behemoth, who deftly throws him around the ring with ease. The fight ends in Rocky's favor, but only after he takes a beating from the wrestler, whose moves don't exactly align with his fight training.
You know, sometimes charity really hurts.
After Rocky III, Hogan appeared in a number of televised wrestling events, TV shows, and TV movies, but it would be years before he landed the lead in a feature film. Most of his work during this time came from walk-on appearances in shows like The Love Boat, where he played himself.
You're an insult to my profession. My integrity's at stake here.
Finally, in 1989, Hogan landed the lead in the Vince McMahon-funded project, No Holds Barred. The film is a wrestling match between Zeus, played by Tiny Lister, and Rip Thomas, played by Hogan. Unlike his work in Rocky III, the film offered Hogan the chance to act in and out of the ring. Rip is recruited by a scuzzy network executive to fight in a No Holds Barred wrestling match. When he declines, the exec has Rip's younger brother beaten to a pulp, while Rip's girlfriend, Samantha, is kidnapped. Much of what plays out in the film is vulgar and predictable, and it wasn't a hit by any measure. That said, No Holds Barred has since become a cult classic, despite its paltry score of 10% on Rotten Tomatoes, because of its showcasing of Hogan early in his film career. McMahon shelled out $8 million for the film, which managed to earn barely double its cost at the box office, making the whole thing a financial wash. Still, it showed Hogan's ability to lead a film, even with a derivative script, which opened more doors in Hollywood, though none would lead to a successful acting career. If you go back and look at many of the movies released in the 1980s and 90s that didn't work well, it wasn't unusual to find poorly made science fiction films. One of the absolute worst from the period was the 1991 Hulk Hogan helmed Suburban Commando. The film is about an interstellar vigilante from another planet named Shep Ramsey, who winds up on Earth. To fit in, which is effectively impossible, he moves in with a kind family in the American suburbs, and the result is laughably awful. That said, Christopher Lloyd and Shelley Duvall both signed up for the movie, so it had some star power. Regardless, even their impressive acting chops couldn't save Suburban Commando from becoming a joke among movie fans. The film is a run-of-the-mill, fish-out-of-water story that attempts to inject humor where it can.
How do you know which ones are the right ones?
You have to squeeze it a bit.
Wow, I found a good one.
The jokes fell flat, the action was poorly choreographed, and the film was so bad that it pushed famed Chicago Sun-Times movie critic Roger Ebert to write, "By golly, by the time it was over, I was feeling kind of tired of going to the movies." The movie didn't do Hogan's career any favors, but it wasn't the last time a Hollywood exec signed him up for a family comedy. Most of Hulk Hogan's films are forgettable wastes of celluloid, but one is very memorable, if not in the best way. In 1993's Mr. Nanny, Hogan plays Sean Armstrong, a former pro wrestler hired as the bodyguard and nanny for two bratty children, whose wealthy father is being stalked by a rival.
This is like the Roach Motel. The nannies check in,
but they don't check out, yeah.
The film is predictable, and the reason it's remembered has nothing to do with Hogan or his co-stars, which includes Sherman Hemsley. The reason people are still talking about Mr. Nanny decades after its release is because of a shot in which Hogan rides his bike along a shoreline in a montage of sorts, just moving along to the music. In the brief clip, just before Hogan adjusts his famous mustache, you can see a man in the background inexplicably throwing a dog into the water. It's a blink and you'll miss it moment, as the focus isn't on the man, but he and his dog weren't meant to be in the film. He's not an extra or anyone associated with the film. He's just a man in the background chucking his dog into the water. Nobody knows who he is or why this happened, but it's the only reason anyone remembers this otherwise forgettable film that holds a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. Hogan's acting career consists of almost nothing but box office bombs. His most successful film is Rocky III, which features him for one scene. When Hogan plays a side character, the films aren't all terrible, and some made decent money, but these are rare among his acting credits. Looking beyond the financials and the production aspects of the films themselves, critics and audiences alike have largely panned Hogan's films. That said, his lowest rated film is easily Three Ninjas, High Noon at Mega Mountain, which pulled in an impressive 0% score from critics. Hogan plays the iconic action star Dave Dragon, whom the film's three child leads sneak into an amusement park to see. The movie is silly on all levels, but it's also made for children, though few would find it entertaining.
Thank you. It's always nice to meet some of my older fans.
Getting a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes is no easy task, but Hogan managed to score one in his filmography. Because his movies often cost more money than they made and were critical disasters, it's unsurprising Hollywood stopped calling. That's not to say Hogan's acting career completely dried up, because it didn't. He just moved on to other areas of entertainment. In 2005, Hogan jumped on the reality TV bandwagon with Hogan Knows Best, a documentary series about the pro wrestler and his family. Notably, the series was also a vehicle for the couple's only daughter, Brooke Hogan, who launched her singing career via Hogan Knows Best. The show lasted for 4 seasons, showcasing the family and their lives, which devolved across the seasons. In August 2007, shortly before it was canceled, Nick Hogan was involved in a near-fatal car wreck. He was charged with reckless driving, underage drinking, and a DUI. Nick received 12 months of probation and 100 hours of community service. Following a plea of no contest, Nick was sentenced to 8 months in jail, but only served 5. Around this time, Hulk was caught cheating on his wife with one of his daughter's friends, leading to their divorce. Reality TV is meant to show the reality of its subjects, and in the case of Hogan's show, it was perhaps too controversial for some viewers. These incidents were the impetus for the cancellation of Hogan Knows Best, and they also highlighted Hulk's private nature, showing that he wasn't necessarily the good guy persona he'd put on display for years. The series further marred Hogan's public image, which made it even harder for him to secure acting roles. His public image only went downhill from there, with his infamous sex tape and racist comments. The Wrestler was a comeback vehicle for Mickey Rourke, whose acting career stalled for a variety of reasons. The film brought Rourke back into the spotlight, earning numerous accolades and nominations, including an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor.
I'm an old, broken-down piece of meat, and I deserve to be all alone.
But according to Hogan, he declined to star in the film multiple times. He told Digital Spy in 2012, "When the script for The Wrestler kept coming to me, I said, this movie is so good, if you put me in the film as a wrestler, people are going to say, no credibility, Hulk Hogan isn't a good actor." While Hogan went on record saying he was offered the role 3 times, the film's director, Darren Aronofsky, wrote in an X-post that Mickey Rourke was always the choice to play the lead. Honestly, no one but Hogan himself has ever discussed his potentially being cast in the film. There's no denying that Hulk Hogan has lived an interesting life, and a feature film biopic starring Chris Hemsworth as Hogan is something many would be interested in seeing. That was the plan, but plans for the film ultimately fell apart. Todd Phillips was tapped to direct, and Hogan was all in on the script. The project ran into delays, placing it smack dab into development hell before it was canceled in 2024. Phillips revealed during a 2024 interview with Variety, "I love what we were trying to do, but that's not going to come together for me." Hemsworth was attached in 2019 alongside Bradley Cooper as a producer, so there was plenty of star power behind the biopic. Ultimately, Hogan was the reason the film didn't move forward, which he explained was the result of a contract violation via Netflix. Hogan explained on the PBD podcast,
They kind of like missed a beat in the contract, you know? There was a payment that wasn't placed at the right time.
This ultimately led Hogan to pull out. Technically, the project has been canceled, and most of the folks involved have moved on to other things, but it could still be made. It's unclear if Hogan would support this, but he raved about the script and Hemsworth playing him. With the fans hoping to see the movie made, it's possible that could happen, but for the time being, it's dead in the water. While Hogan's on-camera acting career has been somewhat disastrous, he's not out of the game. It's just that most of his acting is done behind the microphone and not in front of the camera. It's not uncommon for actors to transition to voice acting as they get older, but for Hogan, it was more of a necessity as there weren't many options to continue his acting career. Still, Hogan remains active, occasionally lending his powerful voice to characters in television and in films. He voiced Abraham Lincoln in the Robot Chicken Star Wars special, and he voiced himself in the same series alongside other characters. He also played himself in American Dad and was featured in other roles. While many of these parts were small, Hogan did land a minor part in Romeo and Juliet, which raked in nearly $200 million at the box office. This technically makes it the second most profitable film Hogan participated in after Rocky III. Granted, the Hulkster didn't have a massive role in the movie, movie, but he played his part, proving he still had what it takes to act in a film, though off camera.